Hello and welcome to part 2 of Worbla tutorial. My name is Ice Valkyrie and I'll be taking you through this wonderful video. So from the last video we learned basics of Worbla, what it is, what it looks like, what you can basically do with it. So for today's video though, however, we're going to show you exactly how it works when it comes to making armor and any sort of pattern. So what you're going to want to do is do a lot of research on your actual character itself. In my case, I'm working still on my Skyrim armor. And I'm going to take a specific piece that is separate from everything else, which is the neck piece on the armor. Specifically to the neck piece, it is going to be attached directly to the body armor that I have already showed before in the previous video. So for this neck armor, basically we were going to take some of the parchment paper, or the baking sheets as you want to call it, if you guys have access to tissue paper or tracing paper, which I don't have unfortunately on me, but whatever's best so that you can work with it and be able to trace out lines and everything like that. So for pattern making in general, you are going to be the one creating it, and you're going to be doing this very slowly and very cautiously, especially since you're going to need to actually measure yourself for a lot of the different pieces and whatnot. So in this case, for neck armor, what I did was I measured around actually the shoulder piece first to the neck and up to see where exactly, like how much space is in between, and also like how much distance around that I need to actually make it for, and also to calculate how much space I have to work with around the actual top part of my armor, which I'll show you in a picture right now. Okay, so for that, I will show you exactly. You take your piece of paper, parchment paper here, and you're going to need a pencil. So if you guys have a pencil or a pen, I would recommend using pencil though, because there's most likely going to script the lines the first time you actually draw your pattern itself. But since I'm not going to be actually drawing out something right away, or I'm just going to use a piece of craft foam that I've already cut, obviously, but you basically just draw like out your simple actual piece that you need to make. You have to check to see if you need to cut it into different pieces and then actually fit them together to make one large piece, which is often going to happen when doing armor. So just for an example, I'm going to show you two pieces that I've already basically made for the neck piece in the back. These are two different like sample pieces here. I'm trying to get it in line with the camera, but anyways. So for this, you have the top part here, which is essentially going to be sticking out on the left or the right side of the shoulder. And then you have this part here, which is going to be attached to wherever the neck part is. So it's going to be like the opening here of your neck piece in the front. And the same thing with this side. It's going to be the same, because it's obviously it's going to be the same piece on either side, because it has to match up and make it even. So you have the two pieces, and they're going to like look something like this in the front, connected, and they're going to be placed in the front piece of the armor. I've already done the back piece of the armor, so it's not well, I can't show you right now. Anyways, so we have these two pieces done, but for the actual drawing out of the actual process itself, taking your parchment pieces and you're going to actually just sketch it out see if it looks good enough, if it'll fit. Maybe even take the piece of paper before cutting it and just adjusting it to look and to see if it'll like actually fit properly where it's supposed to be on your armor piece or any other pieces that you've already previously cut out. So for example, I have like this small piece that I've used here, and for armor pieces you're gonna notice that you're gonna have like tons of these small pieces of parchment paper or tracing paper cut out, because that's your pattern and that's what we work with. And normally, like if you were making such as any kind of fabric piece, any kind of clothing item, if you go to the stores, they already have them drawn out and everything like that, so you guys have it accessible for you to cut out and just use it to sew. In our case, we actually have to create them because there's no, I don't think anybody has actually invented just patterns for armor yet, except for maybe basic armor. Basic armor that like you're making costumes yourself and just building upon it or whatever, but like specific ones like this, you have to come up with your own process for it. And I'm making that like very clear. You are the one who has to create it because nobody else can do it except you. You have to figure it out on your own, and that's it. That's all I have to say. So don't even ask us. Don't ask anybody who's making armor like to give you patterns, because we won't have them. And you know, unfortunately, that's not like the end of the world. Like, that's the creative process of doing it. So anyways, that's just my opinion, but anyway. Crazy yeah. So, yeah, so once you have these, what you're going to do is you're going to take a sheet of craft foam, and okay, I just have pieces here. I'm just going to show you an example, but like, if you use craft foam quite often, you just take your piece and then again sketch it out on top of the actual piece of craft foam. And then after that, what you're going to do is you're going to cut out the piece of craft foam, and you're going to take that piece. I'm just going to give an example. This piece here is also going to go on the neck part. And you're going to take this and you're going to trace it onto the Worbla sheet. What you're going to do next is you're going to take your Worbla here, and notice that it's the shiny side. So just make sure, because this is a common error that a lot of people do, is that they put the the piece of craft foam on the wrong side, which isn't really that great because you don't get the same effect for it. But I'm just going to show you an example. After cutting out pieces, it's going to be like Tetris when you're using the giant sheet. So you're going to be putting all like the different shapes that you need to get on there, but just trying not to waste the actual stuff itself, because like I said in the previous video, it is very expensive. So just to show you an example, I've cut this piece out here that's the same shape as this one, and you leave at least maybe half a centimeter from the edges around. Like, for instance, as you can see, it's just all completely like this. So we're going to just show you exactly like what it looks like. So take your heat gun from the original video. It's good. And then you're going to take your piece of craft foam and you're just going to try to nicely put it on top of that first piece that's there. That's it. At the same time, while it's still warm, you might want to cut off a little bit of the excess Worbla on the side if you left any on there to begin with. And what I actually like to do is take the first piece that you cut out and use it as a tracer for the second piece, because you'll get to be able to know where the lines are to line up, and you waste less Worbla like that. So you take your sheet here And we're going to play some Tetris here by trying to figure out which piece would be the appropriate space for it, because I don't want to waste anything. Let's see here. This. So what I'm doing is I'm tracing it on the actual Worbla itself. And just make sure that your pencil is working on it. If your pencil's not strong enough or whatever, if you're not pressing hard enough on your pencil to actually see the lines on your Worbla, you can actually just use a pen, or like I actually like to use permanent marker sometimes to trace out the actual lining, because it's just easier to see, and there's no worry about the actual lines showing afterwards, because if you're going to be painting it, there's not going to be a problem. So just trace it out. I don't know if you can see it, probably not. There's like trace marks in places. But then after that, what we're going to do is take our scissors and we're going to cut it out. And again, with those strong scissors, because I mean, and I keep seeing the word. If you don't have a strong pair of scissors, you'll most likely have a problem with cutting out the Worbla, because it is a very, very strong material when it's not heated. So just cutting this out. And because of this round piece here, hopefully that's okay. Let's see. Might be wrong though. There's a little extra piece that's on there. Okay, so we're gonna do like a whole sandwich effect of things. I'm just gonna heat this up again. Close to where it's supposed to go as possible. And just press around the edges. Just a bit, not too much. Make sure it's not too hot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the side that has not been heated up, the one that you just pressed down, and we're going to heat it up again with the heat gun. Okay, so this is the dangerous sort of part. If it's really, really hot, you might want to be careful, but pressing the edges together so that it sticks better to the actual craft foam itself. This part here is what's going to actually consider to create the bubbles. So you have to be very, very careful when you're working with it. So I'm just going to heat it up a bit more because it's drying fast. Try to flatten it out a bit, and then I'm going to give the other side a bit of a heat too. This is the part where actually you could also use your craft foam or a piece of craft foam that you're not using and actually pat it down as well. But since it's a smaller piece that I'm working with, I'm generally just going to try to use my fingers for it. And also, since I've been doing this for quite a bit of time now, it doesn't really hurt as much as it used to. Okay, so once you have it, it's going to look something like this. And then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut the excess parts off as close as you can to the actual craft foam on the inside as possible, because you want to get your original shape and size of the pattern that you cut out. Just try to avoid actually cutting directly on it, because if not, you're going to see the actual craft foam through on the sides if you're not careful enough. And if you need to heat it up again around the edges, I would recommend it too, because you need everything to basically stick together. Alright, so I guess that's good for that. So, like I said, I'm just gonna do that a bit. And I wouldn't worry about it being not exactly too perfect, the shape and everything, because if you're going to be sticking together with something else, then you don't have to worry about it as much. And here you go. This is what it looks like when it's done. And it's still sort of flexible because it is still warm. And for this piece, what we're going to do is we're actually going to stick it up onto the actual other piece, which I will show you, in a few seconds exactly how to do that too as well.